listening to Enlivening Musings, a podcast to enhance your life so you live fully alive. Sponsored by the Pleasure Fairy app. Download it for more support. Welcome to Enlivening Musings. I'm Crystal.
And I'm Katie.
And today we are going to talk about Eros. Dun, dun, dun. So, the word itself, have you heard it? I know in my world, I have heard it, seen it, known it. I directly, when I first kind of saw it, I directly put it with the word erotic, just because they are entwined. It's the same, eros, erotic. You can tell that erotic is derived from that word. And, even having it be in my world for a long time, there's still so many layers of embodiment that can be had with it. So, and as I'm, in this world and doing all of this stuff, I'm finding there are a lot of people who don't even know the word. They'll see it in print or in a post, or I'll even just say it. And somebody's like, what? What is that? What do you mean Eros? And it's interesting. So just in case you are completely new to it, it's E-R-O-S. It's Eros. And it's a Greek word. It's derived from the Greek origins. And for me, when I'm with it the most, it is just aliveness in that simplest, purest form. It is being fully alive. It is life itself. It is vitality. It's Eros. And from that, that plays into so many areas of our life and shows up in certain ways. So, do you have anything to say before I keep just kind of like going on?
No, I'm looking forward to you talking more about it, because I have felt those different levels of first hearing it and I didn't even know what it was. And even after it was explained, I was like, okay, but I just still didn't understand it. When it's like a totally new concept, how it's interesting, because now I recognize the process of how I'm like, okay, and I keep trying to learn more about it. And then all of a sudden I'll hear it maybe like the fourth or fifth time explained. And I was telling that I just heard someone else talking about it, and it kind of actually, it hit me different. And I think you've used the term, then you embody it. And that's what happened for me. And I started to understand it finally, even though I had heard it a few times. And to me, it's just like that childlike innocence of aliveness, where it's just pure, like you said, living. It's just curiosity, pleasure based, just, yeah.
Yeah. So
and I'm still learning about it.
Yeah, no, I love that, because when I think about it at that level of innocence, that's when then, I shift the word from just being eros to being erotic innocence. And of course, that can sometimes throw people off because you don't generally think about eroticism with childlikeness or with innocence. But once you've been doing all of that type of work or going into any of it, that makes way more sense. You're like, oh yes, of course, because it's like brand new and it has that innocence. Like if you really think and feel what innocence feels like, it is that unknowing newness, curiosity, playfulness, non-judgment place.
Yeah, kind of like has a rawness to it.
Yeah, yeah.
I think about it, and I think I don't know if you've have like memorized any of the mythology around it, because I feel like those stories really help explain it too. So I don't know if you have any of those to share.
I don't have a ton to share. I mean, like if you were to look up Eros on Google or something, the Greek god will show up, and so it is tied into, and this is where it is very much tied into sensuality and sexuality. And then that's, of course, where, again, then you're leading into the words erotic. So in that realm, it is our sensuality. And our sensuality is not necessarily entangled with our sexuality.
Mm-hmm.
However, for a lot of people like myself, it is. So our sensuality is being in our senses. So nothing about that has to be sexual. You're just feeling more, tasting more, smelling more, hearing more. Your senses are turned on. And I like to take time to even explain that concept of being turned on, because as a body worker for so long, I would see muscles turned on. And when your muscles are turned on and activated, you're holding your alignment, right? They're turned on, they're activated. You don't have to try so hard to make your body hold its structure. And when your muscles are turned off, so I'm like going from being really aligned to shrugging my shoulders for a visual for everybody listening. They're not turned on. They're turned off. They're not holding your structure. So if you're trying to sit up straight and your muscles are turned off, it feels like work because they're not turned on. They're not activated. And so the same thing is with our senses. If your sense of smell is not activated, you're walking down the laundry detergent aisle, not even noticing that it really stinks. I'm biased. I can't stand the way the laundry detergent aisle smells. And you can refine that one by, doing something like taking out lots of chemicals. You're going to change your scent patterns and memory so that you are now more sensitive with your sense of smell. And of course, this is just one example, one sense. But the same goes for all of your senses. And so the more you're tuning into that, the more you're paying attention to that, the more you are in your sensuality, and therefore the more you are feeling and experiencing life. And to me, then that's Eros. You're feeling and experiencing life. You're one with life itself. So it doesn't matter if you're looking at a beautiful flower or you're making love to another person or yourself. You're feeling that current of life flowing through you, because you can feel it. I can feel it just talking about it. I can feel that current flowing through me. I literally feel my microcosmic orbit moving right now, which is so cool. But don't expect to get there overnight. But that's what it is. And in that place, you feel that connection. You feel that connection to yourself and your center and your divine purpose on the planet. You feel that connection to everyone in your sphere, even somebody like the checkout person at the store you're at, because you're connected to life itself.
That's cool. It's right before you said that, I was just thinking, is it connection? Because I think of that, they talk about that, with little kids and developmentally of that time frame where they don't know their separateness from you. Mm-hmm. And I'm wondering if that is like when the Eros is really strong. So you kind of just explained it like, yes, that's what Eros is, connectedness to the whole cosmos, nature, universe.
Yeah.
That sounds awesome.
And so cool. I want a little taste of that. That'd be cool.
Yeah. We were talking about this a little bit yesterday in your VIP group and I kind of went there with like mystery and then transitioning into connectiveness, which I've been having small moments where I've been like really able to embody it and just feel it. And it's really interesting. Sometimes it almost comes up as a little bit of a sadness because most of the time we all are so disconnected. And I think that is what's giving people so much pain and grief, is because everyone's feeling these same things of not fitting in and not connected. So I think, gosh, we should all just realize we are. Right? Simple, right?
Well,
and feel how much we can really be held by each other, and just remember that's why we're here. We're just all doing the same thing. So.
And that's the whole thing behind all of like the spiritual texts and all of that stuff too is, and so what I was going to say, and this leads right into it perfectly, is it's love and deep respect. It's honor, it's reverence. It's that feeling. And that feeling does make you feel held and like you belong. And that makes you feel alive and vital. So it's all that like interconnectedness of everything. That's how I feel it.
That's so interesting. It makes me think of, so I was thinking of like, and then you feel safe. And it's interesting because that comes up for me a lot when I'm working with patients, is how just being able to relax and feel safe and is so underrated, because if not, you're in fight or flight and you're in survival mode and you're scared and you're not living life. There's no room for pleasure, right? If you're just in that state of fear and it's not safe and I don't know how to be held and all those things that come up, that I think just starting to work through those layers with people of letting them feel safe enough to just start to let down that outer guard. I mean, sometimes it's even just the outer energy field. Sometimes I don't even touch people, or they're not ready to be physically touched. And you can it's amazing to work with the energy field and just feel how far off the body it is for some people, or how it's moving around like crazy. And yeah, it's just, wow. Yeah, it's interesting to hear you say that, and the connection of how it just comes down to those basics of feeling safe. We just have to start there.
Yeah.
With healing ourselves.
Well, and that's something that's so important in finding, a teacher, a mentor, a practitioner, whatever it is, especially there's so many people who hear Eros or Tantra or whatever, and then they just like jump in and they jump into certain texts or books, or they find a teacher who's really kind of flashy or showy, or I don't really know the words I'm looking for, sensational. And a lot of times people are attracted to that and or go for that. It's like, how can I start orgasming? That's the goal. And yet you want to find a mentor or leader or practitioner who is going to go and pay attention to your nervous system first. And, with like the VIP ladies too in the Pleasure Fairy app. So quick little shout out. You can hop on your app store and get my Pleasure Fairy app. There's a free group, and then there's my VIP people. And that's the inner circle where we do a lot more practice. And you have to have that foundational component of dealing with the nervous system. And when we started in 2020, like early 2020 or
29,
it might have been 2019, the summer of 2019.
I feel like it was.
It was before COVID. So
it was. Yeah. We were talking about this yesterday because we're like, when was that? Like how many lifetimes have I lived since then?
I know. That's what it feels like.
I've been many different people since then.
So, that is the foundational part. And I'm bringing more of that back into the app as well. So that way people have those building blocks. Well, also everyone who is beyond that point can start doing some of the quote unquote sexier stuff, But you have to start with that sense of safety. And sometimes it can be the chicken or the egg component, of tuning into your Eros and your vitality somehow brings you that safety because it's activated and you're connected to yourself. And then the other side is fine-tuning your nervous system, which then allows the awakening of the Eros, so it is a both and situation for sure.
Yeah. I mean, that's why, just working with someone like Crystal, I can just say from my own experience, it is really amazing. Because you think like, oh, I want to jump right into like feeling sexually embodied more, right? Because most of us just feel so repressed, or just there's so many layers to it. But going through that approach, even though at times it just kind of felt like okay, where are we going and how are we getting there? It is amazing how it has opened up so much more of just being able to stay in the moment in so many different situations, which is the key.
Yeah.
And that, like, now it's connecting back to Eros, which is staying in the moment and being in your body. Oh man, I don't know how we all got so lost out of it.
Oh, so many reasons, right? But the culture being so fast paced, it's funny because sometimes when I am teaching stuff, it's like I know that just me slowing it down and being there, it can unlock the things for the person. And there's times when I can just feel the person being so impatient because that's what we're used to.
Same for me. That's
where's
so
the quick
true.
fix? Where's like, I want this to happen for me, like right now. And how do we do that? And yeah, I'm sure like in your practice, how many sessions is this going to take? How much do I have to invest? And it's like, well, I don't know, like.
Or even just waiting for the release.
Yeah.
And I have really, the more I've done this work, almost 10 years, used to try so hard and would try to like push the tissue. And even now, sometimes I can catch myself like being really results driven, but it has been fascinating when I really tune in and maybe just really back off what happens for people.
Yeah.
And meet their restriction at the true barrier, which might be very, very light touch. It might be slightly off the body. It might be, and it might open up and then I am really deep into the tissue, but it's not forced. Oh yeah, it's so interesting to hear you talk about this because it's like anything. The more you get into any sort of spiritual practice or spiritual work, which I mean, myofascial release, it is because it's treating the whole human body experience. Everything starts to overlap and you're just like, yeah. It's just so cool.
Right. And so then that
moment now,
that even is the aliveness in it. Right. So there's the Eros in that.
Yeah. Even what I'm feeling right now of just feeling that connection of like, wow. And it feels good. It's kind of feels a little bit like, oh yeah, which is a lot. I feel like those aha moments, I always say it's just us remembering something we already know deep inside of us, but it's validating it at such a deep level that was locked within us that we didn't even know.
Yeah. Well,
and that's why it's so nice.
Sometimes it's so simple. And that's another thing. Like in the app, I'll share just something like, pay attention to beauty today. And somebody might read that and just be like, okay, pay attention to beauty. Cool. That's pretty, But that one thing, if you take it to heart and you really are paying attention to the beauty in every moment or in more of your moments in a day, that unlocks your Eros. It's one of the greatest ways. So for everybody listening, pay attention to beauty. Make that your focus for the week. And see how that activates any of that feeling of energy in your body, of feeling alive, of feeling connected, of feeling love, appreciation, gratitude. To me, they're all the same thing. Sometimes I think gratitude goes beyond love because it's selfless. It's like just such appreciation. It's such gratitude.
Right. And sometimes you can also be grateful for something you don't love.
Yeah.
You could just be grateful for a difficult experience because of what it taught you. So,
right.
Yeah, I've been trying to, I have been starting my morning with that, which I know is kind of cheesy and maybe like 1990 to be doing gratitude work. I feel like that's been around forever, but just taking a few minutes before I get out of bed just to even just, usually I'm just like, oh, I'm thankful for my warm bed and this warm house because it's so cold and wintry here right now. And I do feel like it's definitely made a difference.
It does.
Just a few minutes of that and just reflecting on that. My alarm is set. I changed it to say I'm grateful for today. When I wake up, I see it.
Nice.
So yeah, those things really work. And I know I'm probably kind of late to the gratitude journaling game, but
no, I mean, sure, it's been around for a long time, but there's also so many people who have never practiced it. And that's actually one of the first things in my Be You Live Fully program because it's so foundational that it's like, yes, you want to start with gratitude. And for me, I love it in the morning. And for me, my favorite is having it before I go to bed. So my kids and I will say our gratefuls before we go to sleep. And what I love about that is it then takes you into your subconscious and unconscious while you sleep. And so now you're integrating more gratitude while you're processing your day and embodying more of that in that sensitive state of being. So I love it for that at night, and I love it in the morning because for me, I'll normally set my intention for the day. So it's a similar thing, but like you're putting yourself in that state so that you get to move into your day from that state versus the opposite of that.
Yeah, because for me, a lot of times I can wake up with some anxiety about like, what do I have for the day? And thinking back, yeah, that's been a lot better because I'm not waking up that way.
Right.
As much of all the things I have to do and da-da-da-da-da. So, yeah.
I love it.
Cool.
All right. So everybody listening, pay attention to beauty for the week and your gratitude, and tune into your own aliveness, your eros, your sensuality, how that intertwines with your own sexuality, which would be any way, shape, or form that you are turned on. And, you know, that can feel sexual or it can just feel sensual. Oops, excuse me. Just kicking the table here. So I hope it's so beautiful, that noise. So take all of that. You can, of course, reach us on Instagram at Enlivening Musings if you want us to talk about something specific, or you have other questions or anything like that that you would like us to address. And get my Pleasure Fairy app and find Katie and connect with her about steaming and all kinds of stuff. Tell them where to find you.
Yes. So my website is wellnesswithkatie.com. My Instagram is Katie Bradshaw PT. There's a few underscores in there. And I'm on Facebook too, as with Wellness with Katie, and I also have a women's group, Pelvic Wellness for Women, on there. It's free. Anyone can join any of those.
Yes.
So yeah, reach out.
I love it. All right. Cheers.
Bye.